What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Under the Hood. Got a really special episode for you today, and I'm joined once again by the man, the myth, the legend, with over 40 years in the automotive industry, Dominic Franchella. Dom, thanks for being here again, as always, buddy. Good to have you back.
Happy New Year. I think, is this our first one of the year?
It's our second one of the year, man.
Second one.
We've been slacking this season so far, so we got to make up for it today.
Time flies. Time flies.
Time does fly. And speaking of time, times are changing in 2026. And a lot of our episode today, we're going to be talking about the future of this business, AI. But before we do, we're going to get started with our new segment called Headlines, where I pull some headlines out of the news, and I'm going to get Dom's honest, raw reaction to them. So let's start right at the top with a bang. So Ford CEO Jim Farley is sounding the alarm. Ford has 5,000 open mechanic positions they can't fill, even with salaries reaching $120,000 a year, nearly double the national average, yet jobs sit empty. Farley says this is not a Ford problem, it's a national crisis. While everyone is worried about AI taking jobs, the world is desperate for people who can actually build and fix things.
So I guess this is recycled in the headlines again, or maybe he actually was on either another show. I actually just saw it the other day, but this is revisited. So there's no mystery that there is a shortage of technicians. But when you talk to it, there's facts and there's things that Ford Motor Company can control, which would invite or be more enticing to people to become technicians and work at a Ford dealership.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that we've touched on before and we've talked a lot about. We're feeling it here on this level with just hiring techs and everything else. But it is kind of scary to see those numbers and what they're willing to pay people. And still, I mean, you think that usually good pay attracts good workers. Is that still what your feeling is now with what you're seeing?
Well, I'm not sure where he floats his number of, $150,000. So.
Yeah.
Here's the problem we have as dealers. So there are time guides to fix vehicles. So, if you're coming in and getting a transmission job, on a certain vehicle, there's time guides that are collected by companies that the proper time to do this.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. So if the time guide says on this 2020 Explorer that it's 20 hours to, take down the transmission, replace the transmission, and a customer is paying, that's what the actual hours should be charged.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is Ford comes in and they say for that job, we're only going to pay the technician 13 hours. So I have a technician that realistically it takes 20 hours to do the job.
Yeah.
And he's getting reimbursed for 13 hours through Ford. And it's starting to put a hardship on the dealership. So what we do here, and a lot of dealers don't, we pay technicians their incentive rate on hours clocked, not produced.
Oh, wow.
So what I mean by that is if that technician only made 13 hours and he spent 20,
yeah, the
other 7 hours are not paid out to him at his incentive rate. They're paid at a much lower rate, but these guys work hard. They go through school, to do some of these jobs. You're master certified, yet Ford has refused to this point in time to actually increase their time guides to what are actual labor time guides.
And the funny thing is I was reading some comments about this headline, and somebody said, why don't they just make the cars easier to fix and we would solve this problem immediately?
Well, that's true. I mean, the complexities that they keep introducing with a lot of these vehicles makes it really difficult for a technician sometimes to even be able to make time or fix it because there's so many things that you have to do. Like, I'll just give an example. We talked about transmissions, and I just came across this. So customers sometimes have trouble with their transmission. Well, what Ford requires us to do is to follow a couple of repairs prior to replacing the transmission. So we do something, we give it back to the customer, and guess what? 2 weeks later, they're back with the same problem. Then we're told we have to do this, and we do this. And then at the third time they're coming in and we have to do an R&R and put a remanufactured transmission in their vehicle. But the problem is you have an unhappy customer that came back 3 times. You
Yep.
have a technician that now is spending 3 repairs to repair a vehicle that could have been done in 1. So
Frustrating. Yeah, I can imagine that'd be frustrating. And then I'm guessing that if you don't follow that specific checklist, you're not going to get it covered if it is under
right.
warranty.
If you're going to pay through warranty through Ford, you have to follow their guidelines. And unfortunately, sometimes it's a hardship to the customer.
Yeah.
They're out of their vehicle. We try to do our best to put them in loaners, but when you have to come back 2, 3 times to get something fixed, they're not going to be happy to begin with. And on top of it, at the end of the day, you're not really saving money in the end.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I kind of see it as like going to the doctor, right? You have a cut on your hand. You know it needs stitches, but your insurance says no. First you put a Band-Aid on it, wait a couple days, it's still bleeding. Then you come back, you put the butterfly band, it's still bleeding. Then eventually you get to stitches, which it should have been in the first place, and the problem is solved, but you have to go through all those hoops.
Right.
So that's
if we don't get paid. So we're putting a transmission in a car that will never get paid for.
Yeah, and I think this is a good conversation because I don't think a lot of customers really understand that process, and it's not, nor should they, because it's not really something that goes out, customer facing. It's more internal.
Right.
But I think the more people understand that it's like, hey, we have things we have to follow. It's not necessarily always our decision when it's warranty. And it's funny you talk about transmissions. So I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit because I think it's a good segue point. And this has to do with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has broadened a public safety probe to about 1.3 Ford F-150 pickups as reports of unexpected transmission behavior that can cause rear wheel lockups and sudden downshifts. So really, my question is for you on this is, you've been doing this a really long time. Have you ever seen the NTSB like go after Ford and probe vehicles? And is this a normal thing or not? I mean, it seems like a pretty big
Well, I mean,
investigation.
listen, a government agency is actually there to protect the citizens of the United States. So whether it's Ford, Toyota, Honda, BMW, I mean, their job is if they get enough complaints on vehicles, I'm sure they have studies they do before they go out with these numbers. One of the problems as dealers, again, is in 2025, Ford led all manufacturers with the most recalls by just big numbers. So, it's not the greatest thing when, customers are buying cars and they're reading about recalls all the time or coming in for recalls.
Yeah, I mean, and we're on a roll today with the segues because that's another thing is Ford seems to be putting up record numbers in all the wrong categories right now. And this has to do with, they call it the customer has spoken on this whole EV crisis. They've lost 11.1 billion quarterly and an 8.2 billion annual loss, among the worst since the 2008 recession. Despite this, Ford exceeded some Wall Street expectations and is cutting costs with refocusing operations. So that's another question, is how can a company like this be losing this much money and Wall Street still happy with the stock performance?
Listen, I can't speak to stock prices on Wall Street. I can speak to the fact that, listen, we've had podcasts that we fooled around with a crystal ball.
Yeah.
No one really has one.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Ford made a bet on EV reaching certain numbers by 2030, okay?
Yeah.
And, I don't know exact numbers, but I think it was like 50% of the vehicles sold are going to be electric.
Yeah.
Well, that bet didn't pan out. So, I would equate it to, instead of feeling the temperature of the water, Ford dove in head first and wanted to compete with Tesla. So when you make that big of an investment in EV and it doesn't pan out, you're going to lose billions of dollars as a company. One of the things that I think should have been studied was a lot of electric was based on government subsidies. So there was no real electric business plan that would work unless the government was subsidizing billions of dollars to do it.
Yeah.
And that changes from administration to administration. So you have a certain administration in there that is head on with electric and puts requirements for mileage of a fleet at ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
As a manufacturer, you have to try to figure out how you're going to do that, because the only way you're going to do it is by electric, because you have to get gas numbers down. You have to get gas numbers average with higher miles per gallon with electric. But here's the thing. I mean, to me, I looked at it then,
Yeah.
and I said, we're lucky in 2030 to be at 15 or 20%.
I know.
And I said the administration's going to change. And if you read about what this administration has done, then you realize why electric really doesn't work right now.
No, I don't think it does, and it didn't perform even close to the metrics that they were. I think you had that initial spike, but it kind of has proven that once that 7,500 got cut in half and then disappeared, people aren't really willing to go for it anymore.
But that's only what they were subsidizing on the consumer.
Yeah.
There were subsidies to car manufacturers too that went away.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, listen. First of all, that's just one part of electric. If every manufacturer started to produce electric cars and we went 50%, 60%, 70%, you need infrastructure.
Yeah.
The infrastructure was nowhere in place.
No.
The battery technology was not good. And you don't have enough to study what are you going to do with these batteries. It's not like they had a plan to recycle all these batteries that were going in vehicles. So, it wasn't only the fact that the government was subsidizing things. To me, when I looked at it, I said, there's no way. If you get to 15 to 20% by 20 to 30, it's a lot.
Yeah. And I think and I remember a lot of people were like having the same thought process as you were like, what are you going to do with all these batteries? And then Ford quickly pivoted and said, we're going to take these batteries and we're going to attach them to windmills and use the batteries on the windmills. They're like, okay, what happens when you cross the 1.3 million windmills? Then what? Because we'll get there super quickly with these numbers. And they haven't had a response since. Another interesting thing while we're still talking, and Matt, if you have a mic on, I want to get Matt involved in this for one quick second. We're currently he drives a Tesla. If you guys remember the episode where we talked about that, he has a Tesla. They are actually switching the Ford charging from CCS over to the Tesla charger. So this isn't even done yet. Ford now they have to get rid of all their charge ports on their cars, and they're switching over to Tesla. So they just did all this infrastructure for CCS. Now they got to do it again for Tesla. So I don't know how you make up the ground on that. But I was just curious, Matt, if you had seen anything in any Tesla chargers that you've been to.
Actually, yeah. I've seen a fair bit of like Cadillacs, like a lot of Cadillac EVs. I know those have been pretty popular. But in general, like a lot of other brands have been using Tesla chargers now with the Tesla supercharger access open. But it really is, like, especially around here, it really is the Tesla infrastructure that carries EV charging.
Yeah. There's
not really much in terms of fast charging. I know they put in the new parking garage for the train station, they just put in 93 10 kilowatt chargers.
Yeah, wow.
Which are still nowhere, but it is something, especially for commuters.
Yeah, I mean that's to Dom's point about just how we still haven't even made a dent. Tesla still owns most of the market for charging, and so you have every manufacturer now fighting over Tesla chargers. It's not going to get any better. They really have to get it together with that before people are going to feel comfortable. And this was another interesting headline that has to do with the administration that you were talking about, Dom. And this was U.S. senators have called on Ford to disclose details of its lobbying efforts related to federal climate policy rollbacks, following claims that the company sought regulatory changes from the administration. So this obviously has to do with getting their environmental clauses in order to try and either, I guess, bring down whatever the emissions are for the plant. Have you heard anything about that climate?
Actually, I haven't. So
it was an interesting one.
That headline I haven't seen, and to be honest with you, I mean, I don't really have the knowledge to comment on something like that.
No, listen, I was just curious because a lot of this stuff, I have stuff that's mainstream, and I do things that are pretty like deep dive, I would say, and this was a more deep dive one that's not on page one. So I'm just always curious to see what's making the rounds. But those are really some of the problems we're facing right now with Ford and everything else. Let's pivot now to kind of the main focus of today's episode. If you guys have other headlines that you'd like us to do or talk about, discuss, you can leave a comment. You can post it. We will try and get to it on our next episode. We want to hear from you guys. If you guys hear something that you want to talk further about and engage, we want to do that. I want to shift now over to something called NADA. Which I went with you a couple of years. You go all the time. You're a frequent flyer there. So for everybody listening who has no idea what we're talking about, how would you describe NADA to somebody that has no knowledge?
Circus.
A circus. That's what I was going to say.
So actually, NADA is the National Automobile Dealer Association, but they have their convention yearly. And what it is every vendor, from sales, marketing, to equipment, to cars, to everything, gathers one time a year to present their products and their services to dealers. But the reason why I said it's a circus is it's interesting because if you're wearing a dealer badge,
Yeah.
they know that you can make a decision right there. So it's kind of, they kind of scout out dealer badges to try to get you to come over and listen to their presentation.
That's what I was going to say. It's literally just thousands of people trying to sell you on every single product under the sun, over and over and over again. And it's a couple days long, and I don't even know how he does it for this long, because after like day one or day two, I was shot. I mean, you can't tell who is who anymore with these vendors. But the headline this year really out of NADA was that AI is really just all over the place. There were more AI vendors there than ever before. Record year. They say that they finally busted off the floodgates, to come into the automotive industry. So a couple companies that are out here, and these are all DNS systems. So they're basically customer management systems for dealerships. They hold customer databases. A couple, if you guys are in the automotive business, you might be familiar with a company called Reynolds and Reynolds. They've introduced a new product called Ray. So this is an AI agent that is built into Reynolds. It's basically to refine data. Dealers can see this as a major leap and an angle for an intelligent assistant that can understand dealership data. So it's basically a personal assistant within the program that can assist you with mundane tasks, gathering data. Techion, which is another big player in the space, has also another AI agent. So AI agents seem to be a very big topic of discussion here. Cox Automotive, which we know is huge. They're everywhere. vAuto, everything else. So they have an AI solution that they've rolled out into their sales platform. And so has, I guess, ACV Auctions even has a thing called Viper. So that's where you purchase pre-owned inventory from auctions that you can sell. The one thing that I've yet to find from this whole thing is CDK. And that's who we use. And there seems to be silence in that corner of the ring.
So here's what I would say, right? AI is not just automotive right now. I mean, AI is all over, and at the end of the day, unfortunately, it is going to take a lot of people's jobs. So the early adapters in the auto industry that adapt to AI and can integrate it with their current products and get things done faster, less expensive. At the end of the day, it's going to work. CDK, so in the automotive industry, the two biggest players are really CDK and Reynolds as far as data management systems. They have the biggest market share. It is extremely surprising to me that based on all of the other DMS vendors, that CDK has nothing to offer in AI. But again, I don't know what their thinking is, because everywhere you look, every vendor you look at right now, whether it's advertising, marketing, whether it's a CRM, there's AI integrated. So why they haven't is somewhat of a mystery that before you told me I was aware of that.
Yeah, no, it's been a big topic because you kind of assume you go down the assembly line, right, of all the big players, and everyone's like, here's our newest product, and CDK is just kind of singing the same old song, and they haven't really been on the, I could say this because I work with CDK every day at this store. I'm involved in a lot of the deployment of this software, and I can tell you it's very dated. And I think that if they can't get it together soon, they're going to get left behind by a lot of these places that can provide a more competitive price. And that's another question I wanted to ask you about NADA, because you've picked a lot of winners out of NADA. Obviously, you're not going to be 100%. There's always things that they tell you are great, but then it just doesn't work out. But what are some of the things you look for as a CEO when you're considering, bringing on a vendor or what are the top values for you? What makes you really look into something?
The first thing you have to look at is if you have things in place that, are working.
Yeah.
And you have a team that works with these things, the first thing I look at is if it's technology or it's a big change as far as computer systems or management systems. I try to look at what the hardship is going to be until people relearn a whole nother other platform.
Yep.
So it's easy to just go there and say, okay, well, here's a platform for your DMS. And now Techion has this platform, and Techion can do it for 50% less, and they offer this. Well, that may be true, but at the end of the day, you have to fit it into your business model. So if I'm going to make any major change in technology, computers, management systems, that's the first thing I look at. Obviously, cost is important to a dealer. So you want to save money, but at the end of the day, you can't be short-sighted to say you're going to save money that's going to cost you a lot more in the long run with what you're doing. And then I really look at, okay, so you're telling me this is great.
Yeah.
I do my research, so it's very easy to research things these days. You brought up AI. It's even easier with AI.
It is.
So I take the company and what they're telling me, and I do research, and then I ask them for dealers that are actually using it.
Yeah.
But I do it a different way. I don't call a dealer and ask them for their viewpoint.
Yeah.
Because if a vendor is giving me a dealer, I don't think they're giving me a dealer that's going to give me something bad about them.
Yeah.
So I try to research it in other ways. For an example, if it's AI that are answering phones or AI that, are answering leads, what I'll do is I'll test the dealership with me and a number of other people to see how it's handled, because that's where you're really going to get if this company is doing what they're supposed to do, not by, the person that they gave me that's saying it's a great product, because I would expect that they're going to give me someone that says that it's a great product.
Yeah, obviously they're going to give you the best of the bunch, and I think that's a unique perspective that you have, is you're willing to take it kind of to the ground floor and really go investigate for yourself.
Well, here's the thing. NADA, everybody tells you they have a silver bullet.
Yeah,
but when
absolutely.
you've been in the game this long,
there
is no silver bullet.
Yeah. That's a really good point, actually. And it's something, while we're still talking about NADA, I wanted to get. So if you can basically look to camera and you're speaking to the dealer principal that's, 3 months on the job, just started, maybe considering going to their first NADA, what do you tell that person or advice you'd give them for trying to, make their way through this and be successful in this business?
Don't go.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
Now, so here's the thing. If you don't go there focused on, you pick your top 3 things that you have to get done, 3 things that are really important to you. Because, NADA is literally an event that goes 4 days, but the floor, really, there's 2 main days. And if you get on that floor and you don't know where you're going, first thing is I still can't figure out after all these years is how they number vendors. So that's the first thing you get lost with. But on top of it, they actually hire people to scan your badges so they have your information to solicit you. So what I would tell a dealer is, look, when you go there, make sure you have an agenda ahead of time, and make sure you at least do those top 3 or 4 things first before you get lost in the carnival atmosphere.
Yeah. It really is, and that's another thing. I can't figure out how they number the vendors either. And the last thing I wanted to ask you about NADA is if anybody from them is listening, what could they do to operate better and make it more valuable to you as a dealer principal? What do you think would help you and make it even better than it is now?
I mean, to
Is it even
completely
possible?
honest with you, I think they do a great job.
Yeah.
You know, they have some really good workshops with really good speakers. And I find a lot of value in getting there the first day where the trade floor is not open and picking out things that you might want to get done in your dealership and look at the speakers because they put on a lot of really good workshops. As far as NADA, they do a tremendous job. So think about what's involved.
Yeah.
In other words, they have all of these vendors that obviously pay money to come there and they want to show their products. So, you know, I don't think they can do anything better other than maybe not choosing New Orleans when there's an ice storm or Dallas when it's 32 degrees, but they don't control the weather.
Yeah, no, it is funny though. Some of the places that I see, they pop up and it's just the worst time of year to be
They
there.
actually have corrected that. So it's Vegas every other year. I mean, and I think next year they're going back to Orlando.
Oh, wow.
So I think their rotation actually
Gotten
has
better.
changed.
Wow, that's funny. Yeah, Vegas was still definitely hot for that, but and there's thousands of vendors. So yeah, I mean, listen, I do think the most important thing, at least when I went and got to see it and experience it, was if we didn't have those top three things, like you always told me, hey, before we go, like make sure you have, you know, just a couple things. Don't go crazy. I came to you with like a list of like 20 things. You're like, it's never going to happen. Right. So I had to narrow it down, and it was absolutely right because you go in there and you just get lost in the sauce. So it's definitely good to have a plan. And we actually, I mean, probably the best thing I think we came out of the year that we went was, you know, we found the Hunter flight board, which we can put, which displays the live alignment results for our customers when they come in real time. It's just little things like that. And it was actually a product that we already had. We just didn't know about. I mean, I think there's so many things in these vendors that you buy that you don't even know you have. There's just so much stuff, and it feels like every other week I'm learning at least another element of something that we have that we don't utilize. Getting back into some of the more AI topics, and you touched upon this a little. So, do you think that AI is really going to benefit in increasing revenue, reducing expenses, improving customer experiences? Do you think those are areas that we can realistically improve upon, like in the next year or two using AI?
I mean, I definitely think in the car industry, especially as far as what you're dealing with, whether customers are on the internet submitting leads to a dealership or making phone calls, I think AI is going to be a big difference maker.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, AI is learned intelligence.
Yeah.
So it's constantly learning, just like a human being, but at a speed a lot faster than a human being.
Yeah.
So do I think AI is going to make a difference? Yes. And I think that if you just went from 2025 to 2026, the number of vendors that have been represented at NADA in 1 year's time is you know, tenfold, 20-fold.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you're going to have to use it, whether it's with your phones, internet leads, other services. At the end of the day, there's certain things that it can do faster and provide better customer service than a human being can.
Yeah, and the kind of devil's advocate to that question, which I thought was interesting, is there any concern that you have about customers thinking like, hey, I don't want to interact with an AI, people that are against it? Is there any concern there that you might shift the needle in the wrong direction with AI? Can it be too much?
Well, you have to be careful how you use AI, and AI has to be put into a system that when AI is interacting with a customer and the customer can't get their question answered, you have to have a system that AI is working with a live person, that a live person then engages. So, yeah, I mean, if someone's just going to try to run AI and take a customer from cradle to grave, it's not going to work. And you know, there are very good companies that their AI takes you to a certain point,
Yeah.
and
then hands off.
introduces you and hands you off,
Yep.
or hands you off immediately when a customer has a question that they can't really answer. And when it's really good, it's literally seamless.
Yeah, you don't notice
to the customer.
Yeah, and that is the key word is seamless. It's a seamless handoff, as a lot of these vendors do claim to have, is seamless handoff.
I will tell you this though. So a lot of credit card companies, when you're trying to ask a question about maybe a dispute or a charge,
Yeah.
they're using AI.
Yeah,
And
a lot
to
of
be
people
honest
are.
with you, a lot of them, it's absolutely terrible
Wow.
because they don't have a system that a human being engages right away. And you're getting AI to ask you the same question over and over again when you've answered it. So what I'm saying is when I bring AI, if and when in certain aspects in this dealership, I'm going to make sure that a customer is not frustrated asking the same question to AI that they can't answer it to the best of our ability.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. A lot of people just think they can hand it off and shut the door and throw it away. What would you identify as kind of the biggest problem where AI could really help you in this store? And what's probably, you can give me a top 3, you can give me a top 1, but
Give you a 2.
yeah,
Answering phone calls,
yeah,
setting appointments,
yep.
and answering internet leads.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing.
You would have to employ dozens of people to do what AI can do.
Yeah, like a traditional, like old school BDC where you had a call center of 10 people and everything else working around the clock. Now you can have these digital call centers. The other thing about leads is how valuable do you see it as now you can have at least something going 24/7, 365?
So yeah, I mean, the bottom line is what you have to understand is the customer that puts a lead into you, the likelihood that you're the only dealer they're putting lead to is not great. So the number one thing is obviously time, because no matter how much money you have, you can't buy time. And people don't want to be wasting time. So if they're asking a question, time is the most important thing. So if AI can answer that lead right away,
Yeah,
where an individual, if they're not looking at it, it could be hours.
yeah,
That person could have talked to 3 other dealerships.
yeah.
So
It's
at the end of the day, it's how fast, but it's how fast in the right way, not the wrong way.
Yeah,
Because if you have speed, but you have speed that
Yeah.
is not answering a customer's question, you've lost that customer because they become frustrated and they're like, I'm not doing business with them because I can't even talk to a human being.
yeah. Speed in the wrong direction, they call it. You kill it just as fast as you want to bring it to life. How important do you think it is for employees, management, and everybody to embrace new technology? And this is kind of in general, AI is just one aspect of this, but to have people that really want to embrace the changes and get out of just the same old circles, because that's a tough thing in this business.
Well, listen, it goes by age group, right? In other words, someone like me at my age embracing AI is a lot of people don't want to do it. Someone at your age or Matt's age or in that generation, I would say, can adapt to it a lot quicker than I can. So again, it's really, in my eyes, if I'm you or Matt, I would, if I had to take classes, I'd be taking a lot of classes on AI.
A lot of classes on AI.
Because it's the future, whether you like it or not. I mean, I don't think there's any way to stop it.
No, there isn't. And my dad's going to be 74 this year, and he talks to ChatGPT on his phone all day. So it is something that I think is different for everybody. But I think it's also is not getting overwhelmed by it, right? Like AI really is, you can talk to it like a person a lot of the time. You don't have to, necessarily know a whole lot to be able to interact with it on a basis. You just have to be open to it and not be afraid to break the mold. What do you think as far as unanswered leads, unanswered phone calls? Do you feel like this will get you up to that 100% mark if you were to, grab AI? And
You're never going to be 100%, but here's the thing: on an internet lead, if you're having human beings do it with no AI assisting,
Yeah.
you could be at 30, 40% of
Wow.
your internet leads being answered within 15 minutes.
Wow.
With AI, you're at 99%. So, I mean, again, there's nothing 100%, but of course, AI is going to do something a lot better than a human being, because a human being is not just sitting there looking at leads every minute, where AI, it comes in and
Yeah.
it answers.
Yeah, and that's one of the key focuses for AI right now in the automotive industry. All these vendors mentioned a keyword here, and that's repetitive tasks, and how much time management plays into your employees and how much time they can save your employees. That's a huge sales pitch right now. We don't want to replace the jobs. We want to give your employees their time back. How valid do you think that is in this?
Well, at the end of the day, in this business, AI can't replace technicians.
Yeah.
AI can't replace, salespeople.
Yeah.
I think AI can help technicians. I think AI can help service advisors. I think AI can help office staff. I think AI can help a lot of things. But there's other industries that AI can take jobs.
Yeah.
Here, it's other than you staffing a 10-person BDC where
Yeah.
AI
Yeah.
can help,
Yep.
AI is not going to be out on the
No,
sales floor.
not for a while.
Not for a while, but eventually they might have a robot walking around, and I'll be long gone. But the bottom line is there's certain jobs that can and it can't. But
Yeah.
just read about Amazon. Amazon, how many thousands of jobs they said they replaced? I think it's 15, 16,000 jobs they replaced with AI.
It's
I
a
don't know
lot.
what those jobs were, but
It's staggering what they figured out how to do, and AI has a lot to do with how you prompt it, so you can build prompts for AI to help it learn faster and everything else. But that is true, and I think, Matt, if you want to jump in and defend your boy Elon here, because I'm about to flatten him again, having robots on
Not my boy.
yeah, I know. Seriously.
my boy.
Here we go. So having robots like at his Tesla cafes come around, where he's basically put all those people out of work, and he has robots that now serve you lunch and everything else. It's a prefix menu. You choose a hamburger, hot, whatever, and the robots serve you. And there's no humans whatsoever in the diner where you charge your Tesla. And he's like, oh, this is going to save so many people. How many diners does he actually have up and running with the robots? Do you know? Because the last time I checked, it was 0.
I thought he only had the LA one open.
See, I don't even think I think they tried to launch that one from the headlines. It's not clear. We might be totally throwing this guy under the rug right now, but it's not clear, because they literally have talked about that. They haven't been able to do it as far as that.
I've seen some like TikToks and stuff of like people going there before, but yeah, I don't know if it was just maybe like a limited opening or whatever. But
Yeah, it's
all-
interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
I could definitely see Dom coming around the corner when they upload his consciousness into a a robot coming around. Still be coming office to office, just flying.
yeah, I know. I know they actually killed the sexy lineup. They killed that lineup because the S and X are now discontinued. Those factories
Did they
in
really?
Fresno. Yep, those
Wow.
the Fresno factories, I believe it was, are
Wow.
being returned into or retooled into the robot factories, which I think is a terrible choice. But
So he's making those all robot factories now. He's just completely
yeah,
wow.
yep, those are robot factories.
I
No
mean,
more S and
listen,
X.
the guy must know something, but that's a scary thing. I mean, and that's one thing we didn't really touch on today is the big termination we were talking about earlier between LG and Ford. So LG had a deal with Ford to produce all their EV batteries, and they've now terminated that contract they had with them. So that was a really big
LG
headline.
terminated it with Ford, or Ford terminated it with LG?
Ford terminated with LG. Yep. So like Life's Good, they make the TVs, they make batteries, everything else. It's LG. So that was a huge. They had a huge contract. You're going to do all these EV batteries. The contract I think was valued at like 10 billion or something
Well,
like that.
here's the problem.
Yeah.
Right now, Ford has one EV vehicle.
I know. It's so true.
I mean, I don't really know how many batteries this factory or LG was going to produce, but a dealer has the Mach-E. They discontinued the F-150 Lightning.
Yeah.
Next year they're supposed to come out with
The pickup.
a small pickup that I think or what I see, is actually smaller than the Maverick.
It looks that way.
That's going to be electric. But at the end of the day, I mean, how many sales are you going to do between those two vehicles? You're not going to do a lot. So,
No.
I mean, business-wise, if you can terminate the contract, I think they had to, because they don't have the call for the batteries. It's
Yeah.
not like they grew from, a Mach-E F-150 Lightning, and, what was the first year that they produced the Mach-E?
So I think it was 2020 was the first model year of Mach-E. 2021
Okay.
was probably when they came out.
So
yeah.
6 years later, it's their only.
Yeah, I know.
So, they had a plan that, they were going to get up to this number.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, then you need batteries, right?
I mean, I guess is it from a financial perspective, I guess it is better to just eat the rest of that contract than leave it open to. I mean, there's got to be.
I don't know the financial aspects of it.
Yeah.
But it makes sense to me if you were committed to a contract with LG to make batteries, and they're going to make batteries. I'm sure they weren't going to just make batteries for the number of Mach-E sales you do in the U.S.
No, not at all. So it was going to be a worldwide deal. So that was other major news coming out of Ford. Matt, we got to get you on camera at some point. So I think we're going to try him and get him a setup. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let us know what you think about this new format, headlines, everything else. We want to try and get you guys more engaged. Dom, thank you so much for the time today. This was super fun. Guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, we want to do segments with you guys where we answer your questions. So whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, make sure you leave those for us, and we will do our best to get them. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Under the Hood.